Here are the top stories for today, February 8, 2022. The election fever is finally on as the campaign for national candidates starts today. Officials remind vets to observe health protocols in the first campaign season and polls under a pandemic. An appeal from the nation's father, President Duterte urges parents and their children to get vaccinated against COVID-19 as the country slowly picks up from the pandemic's impact and gradually adapt into the new normal. The Trade Department backs the gradual lifting of the alert level system, but it reminds health protocols must remain in place in the move from a pandemic to endemic scenario. And a better disbursement system for funds for athletes must be in place to prevent another row similar to that of pole vaulter EJ Obiena and his federation. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Now that the campaign period for the national post has begun, Malacanang, through presidential spokesperson and cabinet secretary Carlo Nograles, urges all candidates to keep the elections peaceful and orderly. He said all candidates must follow election laws, rules, and regulations.
Let's keep our elections fair, orderly, peaceful, and safe. Sundin na po natin, alam po natin ang lahat ng mga guidelines pagdating sa minimum public health standards. At syempre yung mga guidelines din po ng COMELEC. Let's follow and obey all the rules, regulations, and laws of the land. And ang isa ring warning ni Pangulo, kung napakinggan natin kagabi, ang sinabi niya is do not let drug money penetrate this election and this ongoing campaign.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government is urging candidates to self-police their campaign activities. DILG Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya says among the grounds for disqualification include vote buying, acts of terrorism, going past the limit on allowable expenditures, accepting prohibited campaign contributions, and if the COMELEC deems the candidate as a nuisance. Malaya assures that the Philippine National Police is ready to implement all rules and regulations on campaigning.
Malaking challenge po ito sa amin sa DILG, no? So, ang ating pong kapulisan ay na-orient na natin, dahan-dahan po natin in-orient para po alam nila yung mga allowable and not allowable, no? Yung ating DILG field officials ay atin din pong in-orient. Pero ang panawagan po ng DILG, sana po mag-self-police, no? Mag-self-police na yung mga kandidato. Alam naman po nila yung batas. Sana po sila yung manguna sa pagsunod sa batas para po yung kanilang mga supporters ay sumunod din sa kanila. Kumbaga, they should lead by example para hindi na po mahirapan ang ating mga law enforcement agencies sa pag-implement ng mga resolusyon ng COMELEC.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is on the lookout for possible violations of election-related policies such as a gun ban. They are also looking into the involvement of some candidates in the illegal drug trade. The details from Marita Muahe.
In Negros Oriental, the Commission on Elections reiterates that illegal possession of ammunition is prohibited during the election period. Election Supervisor Lionel Marco Castellanos said that if the suspect was arrested at a checkpoint or any public place, he or she can be charged with violation of the gun ban and Republic Act 10591 or the Comprehensive Law on Firearms and Ammunition. Castellanos' explanation came following the arrest of a suspected drug pusher on Monday during the implementation of a search warrant at the Kadawinonan housing project. The COMELEC gun ban is among the prohibitions implemented during the election period from January 9 to June 8 this year in relation to the May 9 national and local polls. In Socsargen, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is closely monitoring possible links to the illegal drug trade of several local candidates or aspirants for the May 2022 elections. PDEA 12 spokesperson Kath Abad disclosed the move on Monday after the arrest of 64 persons and confiscation of 8.6 million pesos worth of shabu and marijuana. Abad did not divulge further details of the operation but said all those in their target list are monitored, whether they are supporters, financiers, or protectors. Abad urged residents to be more observant and be aware of the background of personalities running for various elective positions in their areas. In Negros Occidental, 13 cities and municipalities are being considered areas of concern in the May 9 national and local elections. The areas of immediate concern include Don Salvador Benedicto, Manapla, Silay City, Victoria City, Taboso, Binalbagan, Himamaylan City, Kabangkalan City, and Hinubaan. Meanwhile, Candoni, Moises Padilla, and Escalante City area are considered as areas of grave concern. Salazar said the COMELEC has not yet issued a resolution related to the categorization of watch list areas, as there might still be changes in the list. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Muaje.
As the country kicked off COVID-19 vaccination for children aged 5 to 11 years old yesterday, President Rodrigo Duterte renewed his call to parents and their kids to get their jabs. In his pre-recorded Talk to the People address, the president said it is important to vaccinate children for they constitute the next generation of Filipinos.
Get the vaccines and include your children because it will ensure their health and life in the future. Importante talaga ang bakuna. Ewan ko kung bakit may tao na nagre-resist. Ayaw. So these are the Filipinos of tomorrow. It is very important that you bring your children to vaccination sites and have them vaccinated actually. If you really love your country. Kung mahal mo ang bayan mo, mahal mo yung anak mo. Pagsabayan mo yung dalawang rason na yan. Have them vaccinated.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III in the same meeting said around 93% of fatalities due to COVID-19 in 2021 were not vaccinated against the disease. The president said he has been encouraging the public to get vaccinated, warning them that the health crisis is not over yet.
Sinabi nga ba, noon sinabi namin, ngayon sabihin ko uli, aywan ko ilang beses, I have to say the statement, of course, with a warning that the situation nga, we are not over the hump. Hindi pa tayo na magsabi na wala na because the microbes are still in the air. Nagpapasensya ako sa sarili ko sa inyo. Maski ganito na lang paulit-ulit dahil nga interesado akong mabuhay kayo. Pero kung gusto ninyong mamatay, okay man rin. Maluwang pa ang saan ka magpasa. Maraming libingan dito.
The government mulls the development of a strategic roadmap to the new normal so that the country can start beating the coronavirus disease pandemic. During the Talk to the People of President Rodrigo Duterte, Presidential Advisor on COVID-19 Response Secretary Vince Dizon said they are now discussing with key officials of the National Task Force Against COVID-19, including NTF Chief Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año, and NTF Chairperson Delphine Lorenzana about the crafting of the new normal roadmap. Dizon said the NTF targets to lessen the active cases to pre-Omicron levels, recording less than 1,000 infections daily for this month. He said the government will continue to ramp up the massive vaccination drive across the country, targeting at least 90 million Filipinos by the end of President Rodrigo Duterte's term in June.
For increased vaccination and also the new variant that has come up that is milder than Delta, we feel that it is now time to start discussing and planning out a roadmap so that we can already start living with COVID-19. And we will start doing that this month. And hopefully po, Mr. President, we are targeting to finish this and hopefully present to the IATF and to you, Mr. President, hopefully in early March, this roadmap. No, and hopefully this is a roadmap that we can get the entire country to support so that we can slowly move towards what we have been wanting to do, move to what we call the new normal, and hopefully we can achieve this before your term ends.
Selling counterfeit medicines online, including injectable drugs for treating COVID-19, should be properly prosecuted. This is the order of President Rodrigo Duterte amid reports of fake injectable COVID-19 drugs being sold in the local market.
It's important that the source of the fake or counterfeited drugs are pinpointed or known. Kasi we have to warn the citizens about this fake the proliferation of fake drugs or counterfeited drugs. At saka itong mga tao are prosecuted sa magkaroon ng kaso. Kasi kung nasa labas itong mga to, they would continue with the practice really if we are too lenient about it.
The president cautioned the public to only buy medicines from FDA-licensed outlets. He also ordered FDA to keep track of the criminal cases filed against these counterfeit sellers. FDA officer in charge Oscar Gutierrez said a total of 85 persons have been arrested in the last 2 years for selling counterfeit drugs.
We operate po with the law enforcement agency in case the nature of the report or the complaint is verified po to be counterfeit. Kasi we do test buys po when we receive reports po
Ang trabaho ninyo does not end with the arrest. Does not even it's not even complete by just saying that you have gathered all these fake drugs. It includes the prosecution. We yet to see a conviction of people who are into this kind of business.
President Rodrigo Duterte thinks he does not deserve his popularity, saying the real stars in the country's COVID-19 response are his cabinet members. This after Presidential Advisor on Political Affairs Jacinto Paras bared that many local officials continue to have full support in the Duterte administration's handling of the prevailing health crisis.
I'm not taking any credit without the bringing in the entire entourage who has helped me in my work as president. I do not think that I deserve that popularity. I would rather share it with all of the department secretaries and the directors doing their job promptly and as fast. And the number one exhibit, thanks to Secretary Dizon, Secretary Galvez, Secretary Anyon, Secretary Lorenzana. Nakikita yung ang resulta ng trabaho. And to think that we had nothing at the start.
In the December 2021 survey of the social weather stations, President Duterte obtained a very good level of plus 60 net satisfaction rating. This was 8% higher than his rating in September 2021, but 19% lower than in November 2020. Another survey conducted by Pulse Asia, also in December 2021, showed President Duterte's approval rating increased to 72%. His approval went up by 8 percentage points from the 64% he got in the survey conducted in September of the same year.
Pake na po ako. A little over 3 months, yung excess wala na yun. So I should be out by March. Hindi ko na paabutin ng Abril. Hindi na matutulog rin dito. Kung saan ako dalhin ng Panginoong Diyos, mag-practice na ako tulog doon. Magpunta na lang ako dito for the day-to-day trabaho. What's left of the things that we have to work on.
Still ahead, the Justice Department is looking into a possible lookout order against Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, who is wanted by the US FBI. And the DILG says 12 regions in the country have already submitted a list of unvaxxed persons. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. More provinces are all set for the pediatric vaccination to be held next week, February 14. The details from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Health in Central Visayas is all set for the upcoming pediatric vaccination in the region. This as it noted that most of the children who died from COVID-19 were unvaccinated. DOH 7 Regional Director Dr. Mary Jean Loreche said a total of 121 pediatric deaths were recorded from April 2020 until January this year. In the Ilocos region, a total of 731,334 children aged 5 to 11 are targeted to get vaccinated against COVID-19. DOH Region 1 COVID-19 focal person Dr. Rayuel Bobby said that of that total number, 70,133 have comorbidities. The local DOH unit aims to immunize 60% of the target population in 1 month starting February 14 and the remaining number for the next 2 months. Ilocos Region is also preparing for the third leg of the National Vaccination Days on February 10 and 11. In Cagayan de Oro, the local government is partnering with the commercial establishments in the delivery of the COVID-19 vaccination rollout for children aged 5 to 11 years old. City Health Officer Dr. Ted Yu Jr. said the reformulated Pfizer vaccine that will be used for the pediatric vaccination is expected to arrive this week. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
The Department of Justice is following the developments on the U.S. FBI investigation against Pastor Apollo Kibuloy. The DOJ says it can opt to hand down an immigration lookout order if circumstances warrant. Kibuloy was placed on the FBI's most wanted list for his alleged participation in labor trafficking scheme that brought church members to the United States via fraudulently obtained visas. He is said to force its members to solicit donations for a bogus charity, but were used to finance the lavish lifestyles of its leaders. Aside from Kibuloy, other church members such as Teresita Dandan and Helan Panilag are also on the most wanted list for alleged conspiracy with him. Kibuloy has been indicted by a federal grand jury in Santa Ana, California, for conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking by force, fraud and coercion, and sex trafficking of children, sex trafficking by force, fraud and coercion, conspiracy, and bulk cash smuggling. A federal warrant was issued for his arrest on November 10 last year. Schools in Marawi City are testing whether it is safe to hold limited face-to-face classes as 3 schools welcome students back into classrooms starting Monday next week. Claire Gighe has the story.
3 schools in Marawi City are now all set to welcome again face-to-face classes in a limited condition for 1 month starting Monday, February 14. This after such learning modality was suspended for more than 2 years due to the coronavirus disease or COVID-19. Particular schools to participate in the pilot face-to-face learning are Nanapun Elementary School, Mapandi Elementary School, and ang Oyo Central Elementary School.
Kami po ay handang-handa upang buksan na po uli ang ating mga paaralan sa ating mga mag-aaral. We are very, very much ready.
The face-to-face classes will be resumed across all grade levels, with each classroom limited to 16 learners for primary level and 20 for the intermediate and higher levels, making the schedule and the modular modality still ongoing for those pupils learning at home. With the resolution allowing the face-to-face classes and the simulation exercise held in priority schools for the upcoming opening, Alonto stressed that they are hopeful to push through with this learning modality as they also put attention to the health of all individuals involved.
Ngayon po sa pandemic, ang pinaka-importante is our health. No compromise for that. Ang health po ng ating mga mag-aaral, ating mga guro ay ang pinaka-importante po sa lahat.
Priority schools have expressed optimism on the resumption of limited in-person classes. Once the 1-month pilot face-to-face classes are found successful, the City Schools Division intends an expansion to cover other academic institutions and bring in more learners to schools. Simulation exercises were already conducted in schools allowed to hold face-to-face classes to instill strict adherence to health standard protocols. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency, Lanao del Sur.
12 out of the country's 17 regions have so far submitted their list of persons who have yet to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said this data will allow the government to focus its attention on communities and villages that are lagging behind the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination program. Año noted that most of the areas in the list are located in far-flung areas. The DILG chief earlier met with local government units where lagging LGUs were given targets on the number of persons they need to vaccinate. He added that the government will provide additional volunteers and more vaccine doses to these areas. They will also pursue a massive information campaign on the importance of COVID-19 vaccination while raising public trust on the vaccine. The government targets to vaccinate around 2 million individuals with their first dose and another 4 million with booster shots nationwide during the 3rd Bayanihan Bakunahan on February 10 and 11. The Department of Trade and Industry supports the gradual lifting of the alert level system as the country transitions from a pandemic to an endemic mindset. DTI Undersecretary Ruth Costello said Filipinos should be accustomed that even with a lowering of alert levels, practice of minimum public health standards should remain in place. In a statement, DTI urges establishments in areas under Alert Level 2 to strictly follow health protocols to avoid another surge. Costello said DTI will continue to conduct on-the-spot monitoring in business establishments in Metro Manila to ensure that they strictly implement the minimum public health standard. In a separate statement Monday, senatorial aspirant Gilbert Teodoro said it is not yet time to scrap the alert level system. He said the system still works as long as the state of provinces and regions depends on the number of COVID-19 cases and healthcare capabilities of LGUs. The Department of Trade and Industry expects potential investments to the Philippines to push through with the easing of restrictions for foreign travelers. Undersecretary Ruth Costello said many investments were put on hold since the pandemic struck, and among the reasons is the strict policy for foreign travelers. Starting this week, the country will scrap the facility-based quarantine for foreign nationals arriving in the Philippines. The country's reopening to foreign travelers will also align with the enactment of the Retail Trade Liberalization Law, as many foreign investors are expected to look into opportunities in retail trade. Costello said micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, will also benefit with the easing of restrictions for foreign travelers. Up next, the DOST partners with the University of the Philippines and experts from Canada to develop test kits. And lawmakers see the need for a better system of disbursement of funds in a hearing involving Pole Vaulter EJ Obiena. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Nais mo bang bumalik at magsimula ng panibagong buhay sa inyong probinsya? May solusyon dyan. Bisitahin ang balikprobinsya.ph upang mag-apply. Pero ano nga ba ang Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program o mas kilala bilang BP2? Ang programang ito ay binuo ng gobyerno mula sa EO 114 na naglalayong matugunan ang lumulobong populasyon at pagsikip ng mga residential area sa NCR. Layunin rin ng BP2 na makapagbigay ng pantay na oportunidad sa mga Pilipinong magbabalik probinsya. Ligtas at libre kang makakabalik sa inyong probinsya sa tulong ng BP2. May kasama pang tulong pinansyal at oportunidad para makapagsimula ng pangkabuhayan. Bagong pag-asa ang hatid ng Balik Probinsya program. Kaya naman ano pang hinihintay mo? Mag-register na sa balikprobinsya.ph.
The Department of Science and Technology has announced the development of a new testing kit for COVID-19. DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña said the new kit will be a cell-based immunoassay for serologic testing. Serological testing examines the antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 and can detect whether a person was previously infected with COVID-19. The project is led by Dr. Frestel Monica Climacosa of the University of the Philippines, Manila, together with collaborators from the University of Toronto, Canada. It is being supported by the DOST Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. De la Peña said testing could be used in remote areas which lack sophisticated laboratory equipment and infrastructure. It could benefit communities, researchers, and clinicians, especially in improving access to diagnostic tools for widespread detection of disease. The almost completed 9.5-kilometer farm-to-market road projects of the Department of Agriculture are expected to and give life to the abandoned heirloom rice production in 2 towns in Ifugao. Over 3,600 rice farmers in the towns of Banawe and Mayoyao in Ifugao province are expected to benefit from the road projects of the DA Philippine Rural Development. The DA said that both FMR projects were proposed to support the heirloom rice industry by providing easier market access to farmers in the 2 municipalities. Heirloom rice is traditionally grown by the ancestors of indigenous people in the Cordillera Autonomous Region or CAR for social, cultural, and spiritual purposes. The heirloom rice farms in Ifugao were declared as UNESCO heritage sites. Poor road-to-market conditions have led to the decline in heirloom rice production. The town government of Cabaca, North Cotabato released on Monday some 1.2 million pesos worth of financial aid to hog farmers affected by the African swine fever or ASF. The LGU repaid the financial aid based on the number and kind of hogs being depopulated. Out of 86 affected farmers, only 57 of them, who are all non-members of the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, received the assistance. The cash grant was part of LGU's 5% calamity fund following the declaration of the state of calamity due to ASF infestation last month. The LGU has earlier depopulated nearly 700 hogs that cost roughly some 5.3 million pesos in damage to the locality's hog industry. Meanwhile, repopulation will proceed if the town records 0 cases of ASF in the next 3 months. At least 50 Bangsamoro scholars who came from vulnerable sectors in Lanao del Sur and Marawi City have finished skills training and are on their way to get new sources of income and livelihood. The 50 scholars graduated from the Anogon Ko Pagtao 2021 Bangsamoro Scholarship Program for technical vocational education training on dressmaking and bread and pastry NC2. The program was conducted in partnership with the Ministry of Basic, Higher and Technical Education and Skills Development, and the Office of Bangsamoro Member of Parliament, Diamila Disimban Ramos. The scholars received toolkits from the Office of MP Ramos will provide, as well as allowances as part of the training support fund by the MBHTE/TESD of Lanao del Sur. In the graduation ceremony last January 20, Ramos said she hopes the program would equip the scholars to become competitive and productive learners and serve as an inspiration and opportunity as they develop their livelihood. National Sports Association will be urged to improve the disbursement systems for their financial assistance to prevent another case similar to pole vaulter E.J. Obiena. Obiena's quarrel with the Philippine Athletics Track and Field Association of PATAFA was among the issues discussed during the hearing of the Senate Committees on Sports and Finance on Monday. Philippine Sports Commission Chair William Ramirez said the direct financial assistance to National Sports Association will remain, but they must provide a better accounting, disbursement, and handling mechanism so the athlete can focus on training. Committee on Sports Chair Senator Bongo, meanwhile, said the rift between Obiena and PATAFA should be resolved immediately. PATAFA has dropped the 26-year-old Obiena from its roles and threatened to file estafa raps against the world's number 5. It also plans to file charges related to the World's Athletics Integrity Code of Conduct against Ukrainian coach Vitaly Petrov. The case stemmed from Obiena's alleged non-payment of Petrov's salary. Obiena has refused mediation with PATAFA. Let's take a look at today's biggest stories. The election fever is finally on as the campaign for national candidates starts today. Officials remind vets to observe health protocols in the first campaign season and polls under a pandemic. An appeal from the nation's father, President Duterte urges parents and their children to get vaccinated against COVID-19 as the country slowly picks up from the pandemic's impact and gradually adapt into the new normal. The Trade Department backs the gradual lifting of the alert level system, but it reminds health protocols must remain in place in the move from a pandemic to endemic scenario. And a better disbursement system for funds for athletes must be in place to prevent another row similar to that of pole vaulter EJ Obiena and his federation. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.